Welcome to Sitting with Shay J. Today we are spotlighting the incredible work of the Jekl Institute and organization. They are dedicated to increasing diversity in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Joining me today is Toy Massey, the founder of the Jekl Institute, who is empowering underrepresented communities and inspiring the next generation of innovators. Thank you so much for being here, Toy.
Thank you so much for having me,
Absolutely.
Shay.
I've been waiting for this. This has been a long time coming, okay?
Really?
Yes.
I've been waiting too.
We've been waiting together. I mean, you have been doing such inspiring work, and I'm excited for the world to hear about this. Tell me the vision behind Jekl Institute.
So, as a woman who holds master's degrees in mechanical and nuclear engineering, I was at work in the aerospace community, could not pull women, young women and men of color especially, into the field fast enough. So I figured I'd have to go get them. I hung up my professional executive leadership, executive director hat and said, we're going to found the Jekl. It was then Foundation for STEAM Education. We have evolved after launching STEM camps across 2 continents and 3 countries, East Africa, West Africa, to the Jekl Institute for Global STEAM Equity and Access. And so with that being said, knowing that the number of folks that look like me are not in these spaces, and when we are not at these tables, the complete solution is usually not achieved. Therefore, we have problems with water in Flint, Michigan, or we have disparities in health care and medicine. And so that's really been the whole purpose of closing these gaps. The whole purpose of Jekl has been to get in there, embrace what we call the uninitiated, in order to change this face of technology forever, STEM forever, if you will. We are that support. We close the gap between the access and the opportunity, and we don't apologize for it.
I don't know. If that's not impact, I don't know what is. I almost wish I had a live audience, but I feel like they should clap for that. Now, there we go. Now, the STEM field has been historically lacking representation from underrepresented communities, as you have alluded to. Why is it so important? You kind of started talking about it with Flint, but why is it so important that we increase diversity in the STEM fields?
So as we have seen, one of the things that continuously we become aware of is our disparities in health care, Black women especially, what we are facing when we are in child care and birthing and things of those nature, in the area of systems care, cardiovascular, you know, heart disease and things of those natures, high blood pressure and hypertension. Those reasons for us to continuously carry the unsatisfactory mantra of underserved, undersupported, undercured, underdiagnosed, you know, happens because usually folks treat folks who look like them differently than they do folks who don't. Let's just be honest and call it what it is. And so when we have more physicians in these spaces, when we have more nurses in these spaces, guess what? The folks that look like them, who are in need of their support and services, get the same care they would innately give a parent or not. Matter of fact, when my mother was going through her declining phase, if you walked in there, my first thing is treat my mother like she's your mother. The same is true in the technical sciences, in the technical fields, the engineering fields. The same thing happens, if you will, especially as we move into areas of artificial intelligence and machine learning. If we are not in those spaces as we need to be today, we will continuously see this gap that exists now between what we learn and what we need to know. And so we are in here trying to make sure what we learn looks like what we need to know. Has to be there. It has to be there.
Let's close that gap. When I think about mentorship and hands-on learning, I know it's vital in STEM education. Tell me a little bit about the programs that are being offered in the Jekl Institute.
So we do everything from digital equity and digital literacy. We have programs that start off code like a king, code like a boss, code like a girl. We have programs that are absolutely about the relationship across the 4 letters that make up the acronym STEM. So many times people think these are unrelated, but technology is just science brought to life, and math is the language we speak here. engineering, of course, is the problem-solving space, and we use the arts because that is the thread that connects us all. And so when I am in these spaces with these youth, with these scholars, as I call them all doctor, if you will.
Oh, I love that.
I do, and I have to tell you some funny stories behind that. But when we are in these spaces, we're able to affect change in their immediate moment and where they're going to be in the generations to come. We are focusing on a 2-generational ecosystem build that incorporates not only the schools, not only industry, community, and those families, but we really look at, as we are enlightening and educating these youth, how are we affecting the upskilling and reskilling of the parents? And so we are changing in those spaces. In our digital equity efforts, we are not only empowering people with digital literacy, understanding how to navigate the internet, how to actually say, you'd be surprised how many people have computers and they're still digitally illiterate.
Absolutely.
You know, or these
yes.
handheld devices and they don't know how to use them. And so in our efforts, not only do we embrace this learner, if you will, if they don't have these devices, we make sure when you finish our classes, you take a Chromebook or a laptop home with you.
Wow.
Right now, people can barely make an appointment with their physicians,
right.
barely make a opportunity, take advantage of an opportunity to apply for a job if they don't have some type of digital device. And you would be really hard to and hurtful to hear how many people actually don't. So that's some of our classes. We also we focus, of course, on our ladies very much. We have the Think Like a Girl platform where we very much emphasize girls coming into these spaces. But we also have a lot of fun where we make the connection between things not often thought of as STEM related and make that connection, i.e. cosmetology, which is all anatomy, genetics, math, science, even the culinary arts. Again, math, science. You know, when Kennedy was a little thing, my daughter, who's now 22, and we'd sit there and I'd say, here's a glass of white milk. Here is red ketchup. I'm going to pour the red ketchup into the white milk, and I'm going to, she said, pink, and I said, science. She said, yes. And so that's
making science cool.
Making
That's what we
fun.
need.
Making it fun.
So distant so many times.
These kids have been scientists all their lives.
Right.
And so when the question comes up about, well, how do you give them advice and how to pursue it, the first thing I remind them of is, you've already been a STEM kid. You've always been a STEM kid. When you did not have in your community a basketball rim that was in the traditional manufactured state, but you did have a crate that you could kick the bottom out of, and you had a hammer and you could put it up on that telephone pole, and now you could play ball. That's innovation, and that's what this looks like in these spaces. The other thing is we make the connection between the things they do in their everyday life and those who look like them that they may not have known been involved. So, for example, we all use these handheld devices, these cellular phones, and we know when someone calls, we see the name, but we don't know that that caller ID platform was created by Dr. Shirley Jackson, who's a black woman who created that, right?
I did not know that.
We don't know. So many times, you know, and while we have all of these fabulous lights, we think of Thomas Edison, but we don't think about Lewis Latimer, who really created the carbon filament innovation of that early invention. And it was Lewis Latimer's lights that lit up all of Paris and all of DC, you know, and who went on to become very coveted in the U.S. Patent Office. So we make the connection in everything we do to something that folks who look like them had a role in, and that's when they start saying, wait a minute, are you serious? Absolutely serious.
It feels more attainable at that point.
It feels more obtainable.
It feels like, okay, well, if they could do it, I could do it.
We can go all the way back to the Dugan people, the African diaspora, and talk about they never had a leap year because their calendar was perfect, month to month to month to month to month. You know, and so astrology even being thought of even back then. They don't know many times in this community alone that we have an Ed Dwight, you know, and that they can call on him. And not only is there, again, a connection between the STEM disciplines, he was an engineer, but he's also a sculptor. And when they go over there to City Park and they walk through the MLK Memorial, that's the same man who was the first black astronaut, you know, who wasn't at that time able to take his trip, but he was appointed by President John F. Kennedy, I believe, at that time. for the first time in his life, he finally, at 90 years old, took that trip around the world. You know,
now, let me ask
galaxy.
you this. So I feel like I have been educated in this moment, right? And really thinking about the different levels of STEM. And like you said, some things that we don't even identify as a connector. So for that student that's sitting at home and saying, what do I do to get started? I'm interested. And I feel like, as we know, STEM is taking over financially. It's a great field to be in. What's your advice? What is their first step that they should take?
So the first thing I need them to recognize is that they are already STEM kids. They're STEM, okay? Every time they pick up that device and they're playing digital, playing games, and so we're talking at that point AI. They don't even realize it. Machine learning. They're doing it right there, and they're doing it seamlessly and without thinking about it. So one of the first things they might want to do is identify, what do I really enjoy doing? And so if it's that young person who says, well, I like gaming, well, then let's talk about moving you into some spaces where you're not the one the data is being collected on because you're playing a game. How about we shift you to where you collect the data through your research and the things that you create, and we start making those connections. Representation is absolutely unambiguously key. They need to see folks that look like them in these spaces. And so Jekl does not apologize for asking those who look like the children we're trying to reach to step up, step in, and let them see your faces. Become a mentor in these spaces. Make the connection between what it is they do on the daily and what these disciplines really require. And so that might mean mom, dad, guardians, whomever it is, neighbor, may have to do a little bit of research and work themselves. Be willing to go and sit in on the STEM workshops. We give the STEM workshops. We do pop-up workshops all over the country, but all over the city of Denver. And we really are starting to focus a lot more on how do we bring these activities together as a family. When I first went to almost immediately out of graduate school, my graduate program is at Howard University, and Dorothy Height was then living. Dorothy Height at that time was over the National Council of Negro Women. And so then they had partnered with the Chevron Company, and they had a family math and family science program, and they let this little black girl say that she could do this thing. And I'm here in the heart of DC, and it was free to kids if they brought an adult. I didn't even realize the impact of that at the time. But what happens in that space, not only are we educating the young people, we are also empowering their first tutors, their first teachers, their parents, their grandparents, whomever that might be, to show how to encourage them in these spaces.
That's a great
STEM is
point.
messy. It's a messy. So we create these genius boxes and all these different activities, and we probably need to start adding some disclaimers. Jekl is not responsible for your carpet, your curtains,
seen these boxes you have.
whatnot. But we want them to not be afraid to try, and especially not to be afraid to fail, to make the connection that fail is not failure. Failure is I'm not doing it again. Fail is, oh, let me redesign this thing. Engineers, we never fail. We just redesign it.
Redesign and figure out what the next step is.
Figure out what the next step is.
I hope someone at home is encouraged by this, because I know I'm encouraged, and I wish I saw how fun science was at a young age, but it is not too late. Finally, for viewers who are at home that want to support Jekl Institute, they want to help, they want to be a part of making sure that we are promoting diversity in STEM, what is the best way for them to get involved?
So we have opportunities for them to help us with fulfilling these orders and fulfilling the STEM packages and the Genius boxes that we distribute. You can get in touch with us through our webpage, thejeklinstitute.org. You can find us on pretty much any social media platform, and myself, of course, Toy Massey. We always need volunteers. We need those who are willing to come in, whether they have knowledge or no knowledge in this space. Just show up and bring your children. I grew up at a time when we didn't really get to say what we were doing on Saturday morning. So now sometimes I, run into parents and I say, well, I'll ask if they want to go. No.
Tell them where they're going.
I didn't ask you to ask them if they wanted to go. I told you this is when the workshop is and when you need to have them there.
I'm not mad at that. That's what I like. That's how we make sure we have impact right here in our community.
That's right.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Joy.
so much.
You have shared an inspiring work that you're doing with Jekl Foundation, the Institute, and I'm excited because it's really empowering our underrepresented communities.
Yes.
And we need this. The future of innovation truly depends on diverse perspectives, and
Absolutely.
I truly believe that your dedication to creating these opportunities has not gone unnoticed.
Very
and we
good.
want to thank you. You're making a significant impact right here and beyond. So our viewers, if you'd like to learn more or support the Jekl Institute, please visit thejeklinstitute.org. Remember, your voice has the power to inspire change. So keep rising, keep shining. Until next time, I'm Shay J, and together we can create impact. Thank you so much for watching Sitting with Shay J.